Okay, me too.
And then that way I don't have to worry. I don't have to remember. Are you ready to start? You want to go ahead and just start on Audacity?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's
Okay.
see. Oh, when you said Zoom, I thought Audacity. So
Oh
hit
no,
record.
no, I did Zoom, but I can start Audacity now if you want.
Yeah, I'll start it here. Let's see. We can do the 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, you count it down and then that'll get us close.
Yeah, that always works. It works well. It makes it easier.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Record.
Okay, recording. My cat's sneaking in to get to his food.
Close the door. You got to turn the red light on.
Yeah, I gotta make a sign, but I can't close the door. The cat food and water is in my office, so I can't ever close the door all the way. He'll sit outside and just meow, and he won't stop.
That's funny. Ringer did that one episode. I think our first episode, he was like sitting there pawing at my legs, like wanting a treat.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Yeah, I think somebody commented on that too. They were like, Will had to get up to let the dog out or something like that. I was like, come on, you can't hate on somebody for having to do that. It's like, come on.
It might have happened actually 2 episodes because I can remember it in the first office and this one that I'm.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, that's funny.
All those episodes ago.
Yeah. What is it? Episode 6, right? Book 5, but episode 6, right?
Yeah,
Androids.
But something on the anchor, we have episode 0. So technically,
yeah,
this is episode 5.
Okay. Oh, well. Oh, yeah. Right. Because zero was okay. Right. Mm-hmm. I think I called last week's episode 5 when I opened it.
Yeah, I think so. But
whatever.
And I even confirmed it too right after.
Probably.
That's confirm that.
Yeah.
Roger that.
That's funny. Episode 5 again.
14 plays on Philip K. Dick and Andy's and Old Man's War, and then
nice.
9 plays on Starship so far.
That's not bad.
33 on the first episode of Androids.
Yeah, that's where everybody was listening to us, and then they got sick of us.
Yeah. Early on.
Yeah. That's what everybody. That was all the pity listens. That was all my Facebook friends and Instagram people and shit like that. We're like, oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. I listened and now I can tell them fuck off.
Yeah. No more. Finally. That's why that first episode has like 5-minute average listening times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many views, but no listens.
Yeah. Just enough for people to say, oh yeah, I checked it out.
Yeah. So you're going to get into the story of Krampus and the sword, you said?
Oh, that was a misspelling. It was a voice to text. So my idea, I can go over a really quick kind of just, really fast thing on Krampus if we want, but I don't have to. I don't really have, I didn't really research it or anything. It's just kind of like Krampus. It basically just sort of paraphrases everything that Brom said in the back of his book.
Yeah, I thought that would be cool to paraphrase that and a little bit of like Ragnarok. I have some information.
I know nothing about Ragnarok.
I have that.
Okay.
All right. I can get into that a little bit.
The Krampus really is just kind of, it's an amalgamation of a bunch of different shit. He's sort of evolved kind of from a forest spirit over the last 1500 or so years. And wasn't an enemy of Santa Claus. Gets blamed for that a lot, but wasn't an enemy. They were contemporaries and Confederates.
And then the Christians, well, we can talk about that.
Yeah. I could throw a little of that in. It's not going to be minutes. It'll be 30 seconds or so. But
you say that, but get us talking.
Well, that's true too. It'll take 5 minutes to give 30 seconds of history.
Yeah. Hold on, let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, right.
All righty. So, all right. I'm going to leave a little blank spot, not talk here, so I can find it on the timeline. All right, welcome to the 5th episode of the Hologram Media Club podcast. I am Will.
I'm Gavin.
And we're here to celebrate the Yuletide this week.
Day 2 of Yuletide, actually. Day 1 was last night at the solstice.
Oh, that's cool. That's very true. What starts on the 21st, so we're recording this on the 22nd.
We're recording on the 22nd, yeah. Did you do anything for solstice? Close. Did you do anything at all?
Put some candy in some shoes.
Yeah, damn right.
Don't want to
we
get put into a sack and beaten.
no, or thrown into a lake in a sack. No,
That's for sure.
yeah.
No, we actually looked outside last night too to see if we could see Saturn and Jupiter
Oh
are in the
yeah.
sky, and you're supposed to be able to see them. But I think that we just don't have a view low enough on the horizon to see
Oh,
both.
bummer.
But yeah, they said I think it was the first time in like 800 years or
Something. Yeah.
that they're that close in the sky. I think every 20 years they get fairly close, but
Right.
it's only like 800, or it was even more like 1,000 plus or something like
It
that.
was buckets and buckets of years.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, we
So,
missed it. We do we actually do solstice. We celebrate solstice for the last maybe 8 or 10 years. Alice makes little bags and puts candles in them and brings light to all the neighbors. And then we do a fire out back and have s'mores and just kind of hang out as a family. Sometimes we have people over. Nothing huge, but we celebrate. We have little solstice centerpieces and stuff. So that's actually a thing that we do.
oh,
And
that's
last night
cool.
we went out to do s'mores and look at the convert or the alignment of the two planets, and it was overcast. So
Oh, so you missed it too.
we missed it too.
Oh no,
But I had a s'more, so I had a couple s'mores. So
makes it all worth it.
that made
Yeah,
it all worth it. It made it all. That was good. That was cool.
that's cool. Do you guys do summer solstice too, or
No,
solstice?
not really. It's mostly the winter, just because we kind of try to remind people that a lot of the Christian Christmas stuff has been usurped by our people. I mean, they are our people. That's where we come from, that's our blood there.
Hmm.
We're not Christian. We're not a Christian family. So we try to remind people of that. So we just have some fun in the summer. And as a matter of fact, our tree, we have a tree, but we call it the Yule tree. And actually, to get it to turn on, you have to tell Alexa turn on the Yule tree. If you tell her to turn on the Christmas tree, she just stays quiet. She's like, I don't even know what that is. Fuck
That's
off.
awesome.
I don't know. You got to tell her the Yule tree, and she'll turn it on. So
Wow, that's
we've
cool.
we've done that for a few years. And
So Alice was into this then.
yeah, Alice has been handing out. Like I say, she hands out. Last night she couldn't hand out candles because you can't put candles in bags on people's porches and then walk away because of COVID. You can't, no contact. So last night we did a little bit different. We gave out some duck eggs and some honey.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So
because you guys have how many ducks do you guys
I've got
care for?
6 ducks. I have 6 ducks.
That's totally cool.
4 females and 2 males.
How
I've
many
got
eggs are you getting?
one. I've got one layer right now. Most ducks don't lay in the winter. When it gets dark and cold, most ducks stop. But I have one duck, my duck Cookies. She lays an egg a day for us, basically, almost an egg a day. So maybe
Wow,
about 5 or 6 a week. So we've been saving up all our duck eggs for the last month and handing them out to the neighbors last night.
that's cool.
And
Yeah.
I've got ducks, and Alice keeps bees. So we harvested a late summer harvest, which the honey isn't very good. But I infused it with different stuff and we made it good. I've got some habanero honey and some ginger orange honey and some chamomile lemon honey we handed out to the neighbors. Little
Ooh,
samples.
dang, that's
So,
really cool.
yeah.
Honey, make some honey mead with that.
Yeah, we were thinking about that, but you need a lot of honey for mead, like a ton of honey. You need pounds and pounds and pounds of honey, and we don't have the bees to produce that much honey. So
Yeah.
we don't get that much. So, but it would be cool. Honey porter we could do, or something like that we could do, but we could make a small batch of mead, but you don't want a small batch of mead.
You need to be able to drink all night in honor of Krampus.
That, you got to drink till the Yule log goes out, right? Like, so
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the story at hand here. I guess we should say, if you're following along with us, you probably know by now, but we're going to be getting into Krampus, the Yule Lord by Brom.
Yep.
And I believe it was written in 2012.
12. It was published in 12. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so there will be spoilers. It's not really based on the movie. It's very different from the movie that came out in 2015.
Yeah.
It's not based on the book. There hasn't been a movie based on this book yet.
Not yet.
But I can totally envision it. So
I would hope a mini series rather than. I was actually thinking about that. I like my early and quick criticism of the book. If I had a criticism, well, I have two minor quibbles. One is it's very, very long. It's a 16-hour listen. It's about 370 some pages, I think, like 375 change pages. It's very long. But it doesn't seem that long. It's like, I was thinking about it. I thought, what would I take out to make the book shorter? And there's nothing I would take out. Never did I get to a part where I was like, this is just needless exposition, or this is just filler.
Yeah, I think it was my third time through, and I even enjoyed it more, I'd say, this time
Yeah.
than previous. Just like you
Yeah.
said, there's no part where I was, felt like it dragged on, or seeing that it didn't need to have it. It
Yeah. A
all kind of
little,
fit in there like a
maybe
puzzle.
a little bit when they start bumming around the houses and start spreading Yule and giving the kids the coins and stuff. But
I
even then,
love those.
it didn't
Yeah,
really feel like it dragged. So like I say, really minor quibble, but like
that
I
to
couldn't,
me,
yeah.
yeah, those scenes to me are like, I don't know, having read it, I think this is actually the third year in a row. They just remind me of Christmas for some reason. So I
Yeah.
really love those scenes. It's like that
Yeah.
feeling you get when you watch like your favorite holiday movie.
Yeah, no, totally. And you can see it. And like, it was thinking, like, if you were going to do this as a movie, how would you, because you couldn't tell this story in 2 hours. No, you couldn't have this book in 2 hours. You'd have to take
True.
some,
Yeah.
you'd have to cut stuff. What would you cut to turn this into a movie? And there's very little that I'd want to cut.
I
Like,
think you're right.
you'd
Like a
have to
mini
cram a
series.
mini series would be better.
Hmm.
Now, I don't think a 16-hour mini series would be reasonable. I think that would feel slow on television. But as far as the book went, it was good. Like I said, it never dragged. It was long because I listened to it. I started right over and listened to it again. It was so nice. I listened to the same book twice. So that was, I did. I listened to it immediately again. And I started in my head going, oh, this is the part where, oh no, shit. No, this happens first and that happens and that happens. I was like, God, this really is a long book. But it wasn't like, hurry, hurry, hurry. Oh, I don't want to hear this part. Fast forward through this. It was it was a very long book, but not in a bad way, just long. Like for the story that it told.
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we do like just a really brief synopsis, just for anyone that is listening that hasn't like read, if you're choosing to do so. We definitely both recommend it though.
Oh, totally, so. Absolutely. Well, I texted you as soon as I finished it. I texted you on the way home from work and said I just finished it. And Will texted me back and said, "What'd you think?" And I wrote back. I said, "Well, I really wanted to like it, but I can't say that I did." And I left it hang for a minute and said, because I fucking loved it. So I fully recommend it. I've already recommended it to a couple of people. It's a tremendously fun read. If you like, I don't even know how you describe it, alternate reality possibly, or reality plus.
It's like a sub world, like underneath of the real, the regular world that we're in. It doesn't take place in a fantasy.
I can say if you like Neil Gaiman, you'll like this. I can say that as a big Neil Gaiman fan. If you like Neil Gaiman and if you like his style of the weird shit going on just under the surface of reality, you'll like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
where he alludes to just the underworld, where you might not know if you're just a normal person unless you're involved with those people. Like, you're not going to know in this world. So it could have happened in our reality.
Yeah, well, I mean, it did, right? I mean, it did happen in our reality, and it was just it reminded me very much of Neil Gaiman, because Neil Gaiman, a lot of his stuff is like that. It's just very it's very magical fantasy worlds, but they're right under the surface of ours.
So I've only read Stardust by him.
Oh yeah, he's anything by Neil Gaiman is worth reading. Like, just if it has Neil Gaiman written on it, just read it. Anything.
We'll have to get into that.
Oh, I have a feeling we'll get into that pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it's and then somebody kind of gets caught up into it and then is like, has their eyes sort of, so yeah, we should, okay. So don't listen to this episode if you haven't read it, go read it and then come back. Like, definitely. That's the best way to do it. Don't get spoiled on this book. Don't let us spoil this book for you. Like, Starship Troopers, fine, whatever. But this one, don't get spoiled on this book.
There are scenes where you're just waiting to see, what's going to happen.
So much suspense, right? Like the first time I was listening to it. All right, wait. Quick rundown, right? Yeah, so we got this Jesse Walker guy.
He's out on his luck.
Down on his luck. He plays guitar for some really shitty bars. His wife Wife left him. Took his daughter. He plays for like bottles of whiskey. Obviously, fighting alcoholism. This all happens in rural West Virginia, in a real county, but fictional town.
Appalachia.
Yeah. And he's down on his luck and was about to commit suicide. and then Santa's sleigh comes down.
He sees like some crazy elves and getting chased by what appears to be Santa. I think was the first contact.
Yeah.
Right? Or the Belsnickles.
The Belsnickles come out and try to attack Santa and take his bag. And then he goes up and a Belsnickel falls out of the sky and crashes into some kid's Camaro. And then it just gets good from there. Like, it just gets fucking better and better. It's hysterical too. The book is absolutely hysterical without trying to be.
Definitely is.
Yeah. And then, Jesse ends up in some trouble with a local crime boss, right? The general in Dillard.
He gets a Santa's sack. He comes across Santa's magical sack. So there is a lot of like Norse mythology that it gets into.
Yes.
There's dealing with like the Ragnarok and like the end of the world is what Ragnarok stands for. And so it gets into that and a lot of the lore of the Yuletide and Krampus, I think, interwoven within the whole story of Jesse.
Yeah. So Jesse has real world problems and then very quickly ends up with problems with the other world. I guess we could call it the other world.
Gods. Yeah.
Yeah. The old gods. Odin never comes in, but Balder, Odin's brother, or Odin's son, is in it.
They mention Odin and Loki. And
they mention Odin and Loki. And a lot of them, a host of them, right? Hel and everybody else is sort of mentioned by name in there.
Yeah.
A lot of Odin's creatures, his goats and his crows are in it.
So, without getting too deep into that, basically it's a battle between Santa Claus and Krampus.
Right. Yes.
So, getting into a little bit about the author, Brom, he was first artist, so he started out with comic book covers, and then from there I think he went on to draw a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons.
He worked at TSR for a while doing cover art for TSR and interior art for TSR, a lot of that.
So he has that kind of like mythological creature background, so it really lends itself to the creation of Krampus and where he went with that. So then from there, what did Brom do? He started writing. He was always a writer, so like his writing would influence his drawings. Like he would always give his drawings like a story, which is really nice. That's kind of part of Krampus. If you actually read the real book, every chapter starts with a drawing that he did of like Krampus or some of the characters. I think he does some drawings of Jesse and Sophia, one of the Belsnickles.
Yeah, I gotta look that up.
They're really a great art. We should throw some of that on our Instagram just so it's easy
for sure. See. Yeah. No, and I gotta track that down just because I did the audiobook. So I missed out on that whole aspect.
Yeah. It's nice. Like you can just pull up on Google Images, but so in reading up about Brom, when he wrote Krampus, he wrote it all and then he did those paintings for each chapter, and then he went back and rewrote a lot of the descriptions for Krampus and a lot of his characters based on those paintings.
Oh, gnarly.
Like one would influence the other and then it would influence the other
back in the circle again. Oh, that's awesome.
Really cool.
That's cool.
So just a little tidbit about him, but basically at the end of the book there's like a foreword about why he wrote Krampus and how he stumbled upon it through his wife. I think you have some information about that.
Little bit. His version of Krampus is different than the real, quote unquote, real version of Krampus. Krampus goes back 1500 years ish. He started out sort of, what was Yuletide? It's solstice, right? I mean, it's the time where the world is the darkest and you really want to get to the part where you have light again. So it's the solstice celebration and bringing in the Yule tree and all that when the lights and everything else is really bringing the light back into your house and getting ready for the next plant and getting ready for the next harvest and sacrificing the animals to the gods so that they treat you right next summer, right? It's the longest, awfulest, darkest, coldest part of the winter. And these are all basically Nordic and Germanic traditions where it's fucking cold in the winter, right? I mean, it was cold here in Silver Spring today. It was like in the 40s, but it wasn't like cold, you know what I mean? They're all living in like huts and furs and shit. They don't have hot water like we do.
This is back in the day too, like before Christianity had even come to
long before
them, right?
Christianity it was even in the forefront. These are the old gods. These are the old gods. And so Krampus sort of evolved out of several different aspects of that. And there's lots of different Krampus mythology. Some mythology is that he's the Christmas devil, and some mythology he evolved from a goat, which is where he got his horns and stuff.
And he would bring in that rebirth in the spring.
He would bring in the rebirth. Yeah, he was never really the Christmas devil. That was the thing that the Christians did to him. And Krampus goes on about that. And you'll see there's still festivals, Krampus walks and Krampus nights, where guys get dressed up as Krampus. They get shit hammered on schnapps and brandy.
Yeah.
And then they chase people around in town with sticks.
I'm doing that.
I'm bringing that to Silver Spring.
That's what we should. I was thinking we need to either. I like the idea of bringing it to Maryland.
I'm already looking into how to make horns out of EVA foam, which is going to be the first step of my Krampus costume. I already own the stilts. I figured out you can find tutorials on YouTube how to make backwards feet, like dog legs, ankles for stilts. Man. I'm already looking into it. I've been interested in making a Krampus costume for a couple of years, but just sort of playing with it in the back of my head. But I'm at the point now where I'm collecting materials to make a set of horns. I'm going to try to make a set of horns before spring. And once that project gets started, that should snowball into the whole thing. And then Silver Spring has a zombie walk for Halloween. People go out and just dress as zombies for Halloween. It started a few years ago when zombies were really popular, and it took off. And if people do that, they'll fucking do Krampus night. I'm bringing Krampus night to Silver Spring, dude. I'm doing it single-handedly.
That's totally cool. So yeah, Krampus night or Krampus Knock was like tradition started way back. I think, I don't know,
hundreds of years ago, AD,
I think, era. Yeah. But they would. Yeah, so they would do that mostly in like mountainous towns, maybe, or
mostly, like Austria. Germany. A lot of it's Germany and Austria and stuff like that. And
but it got outlawed, right? So they couldn't do it anymore. And then, but there are still those few towns where they're like, yeah, screw that. Like,
we're still doing it. You know, we're not going to piss off the harvest gods. Yes, we know you're a Christian and we know you're afraid of your God, but we're the ones that have to like plant and, you know, so, and they were secluded up in these tiny little mountain towns. Nobody was ever going to catch them. So they continue to do it anyway. But that's, you'll see the Krampus costumes, they're walking around. A lot of them have chains, and that represents to Christianity trying to chain them down and chain them to Santa Claus. But then later, Krampus and Santa Claus were contemporaries and Confederates. They worked together. They were kind of the stroke and the punch of the whole thing. Santa Claus, if you were good, Santa Claus would bring you gifts. And if you were bad, you were threatened with Krampus. So they were never really mortal enemies. That was a Brom thing. Brom did that. Brom made that, fight that. And also Santa has ties maybe a little to Odin rather than Balder. And Brom says that in his afterword. He just sort of thought that Balder was very compassionate and giving and kind. And he said he thought that was a better fit for his story than Odin.
Okay, that makes sense. So he kind of took some liberties there.
He did. He took a lot of liberties.
Genius part of I really loved how he interwove that into.
No, absolutely. He totally took a lot of liberties with it. It was like Santa Claus and Krampus were never enemies. And he totally was like, oh, let's make them mortal enemies. Let's but that's okay, because that's what mythology is, right? I mean, there is no definitive history of Krampus. So it's not like he broke some rule from something. There's lots of, you can't say this is the history of Krampus. You can say this is sort of evolved a little from here and a little from there, and there's some of this thrown in. He was kind of a goat for a little while, and so you just take it as your own and make it your own. And he did, and he made it his own, and he did a damn fine job doing it. It was good. He did a really good job with it.
There's some wonderful scenes, even straight off from the beginning, like when he gets into the monologue that Krampus has, where he's down in his pit. And starts off where he's just cursing Santa Claus and basically writing a love poem to him that he's going to come for him and take him out. So I was thinking that we should probably put a little snippet from the Audible that we've both listened to of Krampus from that scene.
I think that right
here. You want to do that?
Yep, absolutely. Right now. Awesome.
What do you think about that? that beginning?
That was awesome. Trapped in a cave for 500 years, told to eat your flesh if you want to survive, to kill yourself. Like, that's just gnarly. That's some dog shit.
Imagine fixating on that. Like, the only thing you, and especially the way that he got put in there by Baldur in that corrupt way. And
yeah,
he had taken totally. Baldur in, kind
absolutely.
of
Yeah.
as his brethren, and for Baldur to come around and do that to him.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's funny because, like, my first listen, during that opening scene, my initial thought was, holy shit, I cannot listen to 16 hours of a book in this awful accent. There's no way I'm going to survive this. And then it was just that little opening bit, and then it goes to whatever. And then Krampus has some speech, but you get used to the accent. But I just thought, I can't do this for 16 fucking hours.
That is hilarious. My third time in, I thought that same thing. I was like,
just like, God, I can't, but
I'm imagining Gavin listening to this for the first time going, is this going to be the entire book?
Yeah, like I was driving to work at 6 a.m, just thinking, like, I don't have the strength for this. This is going to be such a slog. But then it stops, and you get the authors. Well, you get the Kirby Hayborn was the reader.
Yep.
He catches his voice really quick, and he does some accents, but he does some really great voices. He does fantastic voice work through the entire thing, and he reads it really well. And it isn't heavily accented through the entire book. So don't let that put you off. Put up with it. It's like 5 minutes, and then Krampus talks later, and you kind of get used to it.
You end up liking his voice just because of how slick of a character he is. And
yeah. And then, but also just how quickly you're rooting for Krampus. Like, you're instantly rooting for Krampus, right? Like, there's no question. And I guess at the end of the book, you can ask whether or not Krampus is the good guy or the bad guy, but you're never not rooting for him. Like,
I remember that struggle the first time I read it. Yeah, I got through the book. Yeah. And I was thinking, I had that thought a little bit more, though. I don't know if I was right off the bat. I think I was a little bit leaning on Krampus's side right off the bat. But I think there are parts where Santa Claus does something and you're like, oh,
Yeah, well, like, I mean, your gut reaction, right? It's fucking Santa Claus. Santa Claus isn't a bad guy, right? I mean, Santa Claus is the good guy. Mm-hmm. We've known that my entire life. I've been told that Santa Claus is the good guy. That's but right, here I am rooting for the devil, dude, right?
You want his head to get cut off.
I'm rooting for the bad guy. Instantly you're feeling for the bad guy. And then you learn why later. You learn why that you're rooting for the bad guy, and that maybe Santa Claus isn't all that good after all.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so
what were some? I guess I was just thinking, what were some traditions like that you guys as a family would do growing up for Christmas? I know we would always get together, you and all of us, the cousins, and our whole family would get together on Christmas Day. But like before we got together, did you guys wake up and
not a lot
have like a tradition that you would do?
No, if we did anything like Christmas Eve, I always got to open a little present before I went to bed on Christmas Eve. Nothing big, extravagant, but a little something, like a t-shirt or some PJs or something. I always got a little something. So I've carried that over to my kids. So make sure
that's cool.
Yeah, get a little something.
That's funny how that's what you'd like to do. Like, I think about like a tradition we had was like we'd always get our stockings like on either the edge of our bed, which I think is a tradition for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then once you get older, like they would be on right outside our door, and we would open those.
Yeah.
And me and my two brothers, we lived in the basement, so we'd always open our stockings, and then we'd have to stay on the stairs until our parents could take a photo of us before we could come up, and then we'd open our presents like in front of our parents. But it was kind of special. We'd open our stockings together, just like the three of us brothers. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
That was like a cool tradition. So I was thinking like with Abigail, my daughter, which is actually hilarious that Abigail is Jesse's daughter in this book. So I kept thinking like I could really relate to Jesse. I think maybe even more than the average person.
Yeah, probably. Right.
He's really feeling for Abigail in the way that Kirby Hayborn reads it. He's you can feel that strain in his voice, like Abigail. Like,
and she's never really abused. I mean, she gets her hair pulled at one point and kind of tossed around a bit, but never really like beaten or struck or anything. But just the description of her scream and like being like, she's not my daughter, but being a father, it was like, dude, I'd know that feeling, like that.
Totally, like gut wrenching.
Like,
yeah,
that gut wrenching, like I have to help, but completely unable to help. But yeah, being named Abigail too, that's got to be an extra layer for you. That's like,
that definitely threw me off. I forgot that was his daughter's name on this, and then this listen, because our daughter's only 14, 15 months old. So the last time I listened to Krampus, she was actually here. She was only like a month or two, and I forgot that
that's funny
that we had named her, before Krampus, obviously. But
that's funny. Yeah.
So that's a tradition, though. I was thinking that we'll try to carry on. I like that.
Yeah, we do stockings for our kids, and you're allowed to open your stocking, but you can't open any of the tree shit until everybody's up.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, and then like you don't have to wait. Like Atticus and Blaze sleeps in. He's a big sleeper. He'll sleep till he's 18, so he'll sleep till 2 p.m.
Even on Christmas.
Yeah, he don't care. Blaze doesn't give a shit. He likes his time. He stays up gaming all night. He's up till 2 a.m. every night playing games. He's going through Dark Souls right now, so he's up. You can hear him in there screaming at 2 a.m. God damn it! It's funny. But yeah, you get up and you do your stocking, and then we do presents, and then we all just kind of hang out. Like actually, our big thing in my family here, in my little nuclear family, is Christmas Eve is really the day. It's not even Christmas, because everybody gets all their stuff, and then you just kind of go off and do your own thing with your new toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Christmas Eve, we actually hang out. We actually do stuff together. Like we'll play games. We're a big gaming family. We play a lot of board games. Play a lot of Mario Kart on the RetroPie. Cool. We'll play a lot of Mario Kart. And we'll watch movies. We'll watch movies.
Wii or 64.
The 64 version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on a RetroPie, yeah, emulator on a little card.
Cool.
Yeah, but we'll do stuff like that. We'll just hang out like all day, and then we'll all have dinner, and then not like a formal dinner. Like I can't even think of the last time we actually ate at the dining room table. Like Thanksgiving. I guess it was Thanksgiving. And then we'll just hang out like all day. We'll hang out together and just do nothing. Like I'm taking Thursday off. A lot of guys with where I work are going in for a half a day. I'm not even doing that. I'm staying home all day.
Just enjoy it.
That's our big day. And then Christmas, we all open presents, but then everybody just goes off and plays with their new toys,
Yeah.
So there's not really that much hanging out. So that's really our Christmas thing. That's our kind of thing. And then I do have an older son. He's living with his mom. He's going to come over Saturday this year. So we'll go back out and do another fire pit with more s'mores.
Oh, cool.
Hang out there and do that with him. So
nice.
Really low key
experience.
Low key stuff, but yeah.
That's cool. I like that you guys do more on Christmas Eve. It's nicer because you still have that anticipation of Christmas too, and all of the stuff you're going to get. And it's so funny that's what Christmas is, a day of things you're going to be getting that you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older, mostly what you're going to be acquiring. So you're just like, I have to wait.
Yeah.
To be able to have that until this certain day.
Yeah.
That's why the Yuletide is just it's more of a special thing. You think of the rebirth of spring, like that scene, getting back to the book where they're in the bar, and they basically Krampus weaves like the spell over Jesse, and Jesse's playing the music, and the whole Yuletide is like comes alive, and like Jesse is like basically like gets lost in this like massive orgy is what it seems like. And then
more or less, a big celebration of Mother Earth. A big celebration of Mother Earth where they sing to Mother Earth and Mother Earth sings back, and that comes through the next day. Yeah, it comes through the next day when there's like new flowers and stuff poking up all around the bar, because like, and Krampus says, imagine with 1,000 people, imagine with 100,000 people, imagine with 1,000,000 people.
And that goes to like with his Indians, Makwa and whatever the other
Whippy and Nippy.
The way that you can picture the Native American celebration, like they're definitely way more connected to the earth than we are nowadays. I mean, just they lived outdoors.
Yeah.
They were actually like nomadic tribes, mostly, I guess, or a lot of the Indians were nomadic. Right. So I don't know, just way more connected to the earth.
Yeah. Well, and they said, I think was it Isabel? Was that her name? The
The Belsnickel. Oh,
The
I called
Belsnickel.
her Sophia earlier. I think you're right, Isabel.
She said that she was explaining them to Jesse, and they'd been around for a long. I mean, they'd been around with Krampus for hundreds of years, right? I mean, like since before Americans, I think, or 400 years or something like that. And she said they thought Krampus was some sort of forest god, which isn't far from the truth, right? I mean, he really is that sort of god. So they saw him, even if they didn't see him as the Yule god, they saw him as some sort of natural speaker of the earth and protector of the earth, being a forest god. So they had an instant connection with him anyway.
I thought that was like sweet, the way the Indians connected with him and she connected with him. And then you had the other guy, what was his name? Vernon.
Yeah. Well, Vernon in the end was like when he was walking back up to the bar when he escaped, and he'd been walking all night, and he was getting back up to Horton's and hoping for a meal. And he was like, I'd be hard pressed to admit it, but I do kind of miss him. Like, that's
his character was written funny. Just, he doesn't say much, but like the way that you could definitely tell he's from like the 18th or 17th century. And
the late, I think it was like the late 19th. He'd been there 100 years, I think.
So it was a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Like
so
Civil War era or something.
Yeah, before cars, right? Or I guess he had cars, but not many or something. I think they said
it was a wagon. I think was the last thing he had driven.
Right. So but it was he was really funny, and you could tell he was just over everybody's shit. He was just over it. He was just like, oh, I'm so tired of this. He was just, he was a good character. They were all good characters. The only characters you didn't like were the Dillard and the general, and like all the bad guys, like
Chet has a redeeming factor.
Yeah, even Chet you feel a little bad for when he's like missing on his wife at the bar, and even Jesse had a little soft spot for him at that point. And it was, I mean, he's still a bad guy, but even then you didn't hate him. And the only people you hated were the people that you hated, right? That was
the general and Dillard. Dillard is just written. I like one thing I like about Brom and his writing was that he really has no mercy when, a character says, Dillard tells Jesse, if you come back to my house and I see your face here again, I'm going to break every one of your fingers. And when he comes back,
does it?
Yeah. It's just, like you're not expecting nowadays. There's a lot of soft writing or, just somebody comes in at the last minute to save Jesse or, something happens where it's just and it gets bloody and gruesome, and
it does
Jesse's sitting there getting nails shot into his stomach. You're thinking that he's definitely going to die.
Well, I mean, he was dying, right? I mean, he was dying, and he was cracking jokes about it. That was which I thought was funny. Every time Krampus went into a big monologue, Jesse fell asleep. Every time, all three times that he was explaining his story to Jesse like either passed out or
we picks like the worst times.
Died. Like,
we just gone around for 40 hours. Like you have no sleep or food.
Right. Yeah. You're bleeding out with a Bowie knife in your back. It was just really funny. It was really fun to me that every single time Krampus was talking. There was a lot about Krampus I liked. I liked one of the things in the book was that Krampus at some point was feeling really obsolete and left behind. And that was Jim Jarmusch is a guy that makes movies, which is easy. If you see Jim Jarmusch's name on a movie, just watch it. He does great movies. He does really cool shit. He did a movie in the early 2000s called Ghost Dog with Forrest Whitaker. It's very vaguely, it's about sort of a modern day samurai living in New York City that's working as an assassin for some gang guys. Very vaguely, that's not really what it's about, but very vaguely that's what it's about. But one of the things that the movie talks about is there's these real stereotypical 50s style Italian mobsters, just real like Goodfellas, The Godfather type guys, and they're in the 2000s and they're completely obsolete. They're not effective criminals anymore because they expect a certain amount of respect and they're wearing the suits and everything else. And part of the movie is about their struggle with the reality that they're obsolete. And there was a lot of that in Krampus. Krampus kept coming up with that. When he saw the strip mine, it gutted him, right? Like, I mean,
behind the times.
And the tweakers and the video game addicts and shit like that. He's just like, I can't compete with that. Like, people have their own devils. They have their own sickness and their own thing. And there's nothing, I can't compete with this. There's no, and that was his big down moment before he found the candy in the shoes. And so came back up again, and then went to Hortons and had the big festival and the chants and the music and all that. But there was a lot of Krampus's thing was like, how do I exist in this world? Is there room for me even in this world anymore? And up until the very end, it looked like there wasn't. And then there was the laugh at the end, which I almost teared up when they, and the afterward, when they were talking about, when the little news article from the Good Hope Times or the Good Hope Tribune, or whatever it was, talking about the Krampus festival, and all the schlock you could buy. I was like, damn, that's awesome. And then the giggle in the background, the laugh coming out of the cave. I almost teared up for that. That was really cool.
The one single flower that pops up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was really, it was interesting to see his struggle with the reality of the modern world. Are there room for gods? Like, is there room for a god in our present society? Which was like, I wouldn't go so far as to say Brom explored that, but he definitely touched on it with Krampus and Krampus's character.
Well, God, or like the idea of mini gods.
Yeah.
Wasn't Krampus was all about, there are thousands of gods all over the place, and not just
the god,
one singular god. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, and this is my second quibble about the book, it turns out there is a Judeo-Christian God. And in the book, it's a she, which is fine. I'm not bitching about that, but why? Like, why do we need a Judeo-Christian God at the end, kind of overseeing all the other gods? Like, I felt like that was a little odd. I felt like that was a little bit
out of place.
And it's just a minor quibble. It didn't ruin the book for me or anything, but it was like, really? So Balder really is a servant of God? Like, because
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Because he comes back to life with the angels.
The angels come and get him, and they're like, hey, God wants you around because you amuse her. And he's like, oh, my only amusement. And then Balder has a moment, and then he says, fuck you, I quit. And they're like, okay, you're Bob now. Like, you're not Balder anymore. You're not Santa Claus anymore. You can be Bob or Ralph or Doug. And they leave him, and he's like, no, wait, I don't quit. I don't quit. And they let him back in. But it does turn out that there is a Judeo-Christian God overseeing all the other gods, kind of above everything else. And that just personally I don't feel like that added anything to it certainly didn't take anything away from the book for me.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a minor quibble, but
his editor should have caught that, and they should have called it something else. Like, instead of God, it could have been the Odin, or not Odin because he's dead at that point, but whoever would have been that has that power to grant him life back again.
Something. Yeah. Or just belief. Belief brings you back too, right? I mean, like, you can't kill Santa Claus because everybody believes in Santa Claus. Like, that's how Krampus comes back at the end, right? People believe.
I was thinking that was nice that Santa Claus does come back because of that belief. Like,
yeah,
even though you are rooting against him the whole pretty much entire book.
Yeah.
A lot of the actions that he makes with the, where he leaves the wolves to die, the one wolf to die alone.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the first turning point where you're like, man, fuck this Santa Claus. Like, I really don't think that he's a good person.
Yeah. And it turns,
up to then you're kind of like wondering, maybe he does have some good,
yeah, well,
maybe
it's Santa
Krampus
Claus,
is
right?
in the wrong.
I've been told my entire life Santa Claus is good. Like, I can't get over the idea that Santa Claus is a bad guy. But then he's grinding up Yule goats to make reindeer fly. Like, the fuck is wrong with Yule goats? Just fly around with Yule goats. But no, you got to kill off all the old things and make new flying things and get rid of the old things and change everything. And so it was like, towards the end, you're really rooting for Krampus. I mean, you really are solidly rooting for Krampus at the end.
Yeah, that is funny.
Just
at the beginning with how it goes into the Ragnarok and like the history where I guess Baldur ends up tricking, like he basically becomes a bad person where he goes against Krampus, and like he ends up, how does he tricks Krampus into locking him up somehow? I can't remember the details. So
Krampus Baldur gets killed, right, and goes to hell, right, and then I guess Ragnarok happens, which I need filling in on Ragnarok, but Ragnarok happens, and then Krampus finds Baldur basically all just beat to shit and kind of not really not knowing who he was, but not knowing what to do. He'd been in hell for a long time because he was tricked into, or his brother Horror was tricked into killing him with a spear. Otherwise untouchable, immortal, and everything else, and he turned out not to be. And then Krampus goes and gets him and says, "Oh, he's
takes him in.
He's the god's favorite." Like, I mean, he was the god's favorite, and he was he was beautiful and suave and great, and everybody loved him. And then he went to hell for a long time, I guess. And then, he was down on his luck, and Krampus took him in. And then Krampus found out that Baldur had basically turned his back on all the old ways and all the old gods and Odin and everybody else, and started following Christ.
How did he find he finds like Saint Nicholas or something like that, or a book about Saint Nicholas, right?
He finds a book about Saint Nicholas, and he kind of gets into that, but it's when Krampus walks into Baldur's room in Krampus's house, and he finds a cross and a Bible. And Krampus is like, basically like, Krampus is a big, or Baldur's a big Christian now. He's taking on the persona of Saint Nicholas. He isn't Saint Nicholas, but he's taking on that persona in that place. And Saint Nicholas was generous, and he's like the patron saint of children and stuff like that, which is why we have Saint Nick as a Santa Claus.
That's what happened.
Where that comes in. So basically Baldur turns his back on his own people, and his own people aren't like my neighborhood and your people and our people, our family. Baldur's people are the gods. Like Odin,
Friggy.
Like, Odin and hell and Loki and all of like those guys. He turns his back on the old gods and goes to the new Christian God.
Yeah.
Which I can understand why Krampus would be mad about that, right? Like, I mean, that's where Krampus's beef comes with that. And then Baldur does, well, as Santa Claus, he basically becomes Santa Claus and then locks Krampus up, because Krampus is like, no, wait, hang on, all these things. And Baldur was like, nah, dog, we're good. We're done with that. So down in the pit you go.
That's where he takes him to,
and then
into the pit.
You go down in the pit, and if you want to die, kill yourself. You'll basically you're gonna have to eat yourself to stay alive for as long as you can. Then you'll be dead. Otherwise, you got to eat slugs. And he did. He ate slugs for 500 years. And then his horns were broken and everything else. And I think Jesse said he looked like a desiccated corpse for the first day or two, and then started looking a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And then after several days of debauchery and murder, looked like a fresh corpse.
Yeah.
and then rose back, and then came all the way back and got his powers back and everything else, just to have it all taken away again at the end by a Christian God, which is like, oh God. Well, not by a God, by the angels, but effectively by the Christian
God that had been duped by Christianity.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Which actually is, I mean, that ties into I think that's where he got the idea, or where the idea came from, was Krampus being in chains and enslaved by Christianity and dragged through the villages and told everybody he was a devil to get rid of the old, which is an allegory for actually what happened and why we have fucking Christmas trees and not Yule trees, right? So that's, yeah.
Which is actually a big shame, because it goes back to the man, they're trying to make their dollar, and they're going to make it, and they're going to create holidays, and make all sorts of new traditions based on things that aren't even real,
right?
Whereas you have Krampus, like a legend that's based on the earth and Mother Nature. I think at one point, what does Santa Claus says? Earth is just a rock floating through space.
Yeah.
So it just is like, it's the problem with what it's like, a big, I don't know, commentary on what the issue is with the world today.
Yeah, no, it really is.
We just completely forgot our histories, and what sustains us is the earth.
Yeah. Well, and it's true. The earth is just a rock floating around in space. But the smaller truth, the more exact truth, is that the Earth is a rock floating through space, but we fucking live here. And we should care very much about this rock floating through space. And a lot of people, and that was the strip mining, right? Like, I mean, he mentioned the strip mining where they blow the tops off of mountains, and that took the wind out of Krampus's sails when he saw that. He was like, what the fuck? Like, what happened there?
Yeah.
And Jesse said he had to look out, and he didn't realize he was talking about that because it's just part of Jesse's world. Just taking mountains apart from the top down, looking for coal for an industry. And Krampus said, no, look, I like the earth is raped. Like, you guys have done this. This is, how can I compete with this? Like, you have no regard for where you live. You have no regard for that.
Well, it makes me think, I don't know. You said the earth is just a rock floating through space, but I don't know. In my mind,
well, yeah.
Earth is living, and I do kind of agree that we've lost those connections to Earth through all of the basically windows or walls that we put up in front of us with technology and just all of these distractions. And we don't, like I said, we have walls like surrounding us right now. Like, we're not outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just makes you think, did the Native American, like Indians and, just other tribal societies have it right? Like, what would you do? Like, if you could would you go join a tribe if they would like take you in and you could live a green life where you could bring your family with you, but you would have to leave technology behind? Would you join the society, like some sort of tribal society where you don't have?
No,
like, you think
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But I like the internet. I like hot water. I like stuff like that. But I spend a tremendous amount of time outside. Like, I go hiking, I go biking, I go camping, I'll go backpacking. I fish a lot. Like, I spend a lot of my time outside. So I don't feel like I personally am missing a connection with nature. I know a lot of people do. And like you say, we're surrounded by walls. And not only are we surrounded by walls, we go to a little vehicle that's walls to go to another place with walls. There's a huge disconnect with nature, right? And Krampus says that also. Through Brom says that through Krampus also, is like, there's no reason to be afraid of the dark anymore. We're not afraid of the dark. There's nothing scary in the dark because we have no dark. We turn on a light switch and there's no dark. We don't need gods to chase the dark away. We're past that. We don't need that anymore. I think it would do good if we could. I think more people need a connection to nature and outside. I feel like I'm pretty well connected to nature. I mean, I do spend a lot of my time outside. But I also really, really, really like hot water. And and the internet. I like that. I'm not willing to give up my little princess life 9 to 5, but I do have a huge thing with nature. I've been outside most of my life. I mean, camping and backpacking and trail running, and well, not running now because it's cold, but and fishing and being outside and kayaking and shit like that. I spend a lot of my time outside. I have a real reverence for nature. I have a real reverence for the connection to the earth. But I know a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people really don't anymore have a connection to that. They spend their time in their little four walls, and they get in their cars, and then they go to another place with little four walls, and that's their entire existence. And that's really sad. But no, I wouldn't leave behind technology.
Would you support a law that makes it so everybody has to go spend a year or 6 months outside in some sort of, technology-free society for when you're 18 or when you're old enough, basically, to understand? I don't know, you have to be able to understand or like appreciate it. So you wouldn't be able to do it at like the age of 16, say. You'd have to do it a little bit older. But would you support some sort of, I don't know if it would be a law or like a regulation where in order to be a full member of Oh, not a full. This sounds like Starship
I was
Troopers now.
like, wait a minute, get out of here, Heinlein.
Yeah, no, I'm just proposing some sort of idea of like, we should have some sort of deeper connection to the earth.
I think
there's so many people that don't get that chance.
Yeah.
And if there was like a requirement that you had to,
I think you can do it without a
training.
requirement. I think you can do it without a requirement. I think the way to do it, and this is what I think. I think the way to do it is do something really serious about light pollution. Like take light pollution really, really seriously and do something to mitigate that and bring back the stars at night. Because I think that is so awe-inspiring. I think that it would stop everybody in their tracks. If we could get everybody to turn off the lights for 1 hour, one night in all the major cities and just let everybody actually look up and see those stars and actually see the Milky Way, like the actual band, because the Milky Way is so hard to see anymore, but you could actually see the band.
Feel like you're part of it.
It's so awe-inspiring, and it feels like you got punched in the gut. And I don't think that anybody in their right mind would be able to look at that and say, yeah, fuck it, I don't care anymore. I think that would really help. And I don't think it's just like an hour a night, but I think that vision of that many stars, and I've only seen it a couple of times, but I've seen the Milky Way, was just camping.
I was going to say, I've never seen it completely like where you feel like you're part of the Milky Way, where it's a in your face
it's a hell of a feeling. And I've only seen it we were up in Canada in Boy Scouts like 1.5 million years ago. We were camping up in Canada, and we were away from all the city lights. And it wasn't even like, I mean, it was listed as a dark sky, but it wasn't like astronomy style dark skies. Like if you were out in the middle of the desert or anything like that, we were still near civilization, but it was absolutely gut-wrenchingly beautiful. It was insane, the amount of stars. And if you lay there for a few minutes, your eyes adjusted and you just saw more and more and more. And it was absolutely one of the most awe-inspiring things I've ever seen. And another time I saw it, we were driving back it was me and Alice and Gareth and Blaze. We were driving back from Chicago at Godzilla convention. This is a few years ago. And it was the middle of the night. We were
appropriate.
Yeah, we were rushing home and driving through the night to get home. And somewhere between Chicago and here, we were just on this really long stretch of highway. I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. Everybody was asleep. I was the only one awake. I was driving, so I was the awake one. And all the stars came out, and the sky opened up, and it was just completely pitch black outside, and all the stars in the world were there, all of them. And I literally pulled over and I woke everybody up, and I said, get out of the car and look up for 5 minutes, and then we'll get back in the car. And everybody was bitching and moaning. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes of looking, we got all back in the car, and everybody was still looking up in the sky as we were driving down. Like everybody was moaning for about 2 minutes, and then they started looking up, and everybody stopped bitching, and everybody was just like, wow.
That's an experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. Like fucking wow. So I really think that if we could do something about light pollution, I really believe if people could see the night sky, I think people would start getting the idea that we are on a little rock in space. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's our little rock in space, and we better take better care of our little rock in space. Like it's a very important, very special rock in space. It's a very particular rock that we should take better care of. And I think light pollution is probably the answer. That's interesting. Yeah. Going into your little Heinlein thing there, like expect the earth or get beaten. I did think it was funny that I was so, and I'll call myself out on this. I was so absolutely against public flogging in the last book. For this book, Krampus should be walking around with a fucking whip and whipping everybody bad. That's fine with me. And I don't know why it's okay. I don't know why like the one is bad and the other is okay, but I'm totally okay with the Krampus walking around beating people with birch sticks. And I'm not
they're bad.
And I'm not okay. It is good
to be terrible.
But I'm not okay with public flogging. I don't know where that line is, but somewhere in there's a line for me. But I laughed at myself the first time I was listening through the book. I was like, wait a minute. No, that's not, I don't believe flogging is okay. Why do I think this is okay?
I bet, it's because part of it is because public flogging, it's like, it's on display.
It's
a whole ordeal. You're getting fined or ticketed along with it.
Well, and that's
it's
also
like humiliation tactic. Whereas this is more of like a respect the earth,
Well,
or
no,
be a good boy.
and it's in the public flogging in Heinlein's book is like some arbitrary rule. And in Krampus's world, it's like either you leave candy in your shoes or you don't. Like, that's it. Like, it's not some arbitrary, oh, I think this is bad, so you're going to get flogged for that kind of thing. I don't know. But I saw that in myself and I was like, shit, wait, I'm conflicted.
I was going to ask you earlier, before you told me about the costume that you've been concocting in your mind, would you be the Krampus running around in the Scandinavian mountain town, or would you be the person giving Krampus complimentary schnapps? I was trying to think, what would I be?
Both, if I could. I mean,
that's what I would like to be. Both.
I really like the idea of, and this is from the book. This isn't my own interpretation. This is from the book and from mythology. This is not Brom's personal mythology. I really like the idea of going around spanking buxom women. that's
European buxom
that's
woman.
Completely fine with me. That would be okay with me. Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun to run around the town dressed as Krampus and hitting people on the back of legs with switches. I think that would be a tremendous amount of fun. I can totally see me doing that. I dislike people enough that I would take great joy in that. But I could also see feeding Krampus. I have some of my favorite candies and one of my favorite pairs of shoes right now. I put them out, I think, on Saturday, just to make sure that I didn't forget. I put out Reese's. I put out Reese's Pieces. I put out Sour Patch Kids. I put out all my favorite candies. I put in my shoe and left them out.
That's awesome.
Atticus did too. Atticus has a pair of shoes outside his bedroom door right now with some candy in it.
Oh, really? Did he listen to or read the book? Or
no, but I told him. I mean, we know we've known about Krampus in our family. We've known about Krampus, not as much as I know now through this and through Brom's talk about the traditions of that, and the more I wouldn't even call it research, more reading I've done recently about it. But we've liked Krampus. We have little Krampusy style things. We have weird shit on our Christmas tree anyway. Like we actually, our tree topper for the last 2 years has been a deer skull that we adorned with LEDs. We have a deer skull with the antlers. We took micro LEDs and wrapped micro LEDs around it, and we put that as our tree topper last year and this year.
That's cool.
So we usually have, like, in our centerpiece for our solstice dinners and shit like that, we got a shit ton of skulls in the house. We've got fuck tons of skulls. It's crazy. Bird skulls and cat skulls and all sorts of stuff. But we do a little one with candles and holly and evergreen tree and stuff like that. So it's a continuing theme. So my kids know about Krampus. They know more now, but
yeah, wow.
my kids have always dug Krampus.
That's cool. Do you have any photos of any of those centerpieces you could throw up on Instagram?
I will. I'll throw some up this weekend. We'll be around this weekend. I can throw some up on Instagram. Yeah. And some stuff from the past. So we're not a very traditional Christmas family.
I'm sensing that.
We actually made gingerbread houses tonight before we did the episode. We've been doing a little something. We did Christmas cookies last night. Tonight we made gingerbread cookies or gingerbread houses, and Blaze's looked like a meth lab. And then he stomped it over. He pushed it over, and then mine just looks like kind of a dilapidated building, but there's a little sign on the outside that says free candy. That's in creepy backwards letters. So
red rum.
Yeah. We have a lot of, we tend to have a lot of fun. So you got to make your own fun.
Yeah, definitely. Can you be my daddy?
No.
Okay.
No, I got enough kids, dude. I'm
Whip me with the birch stick.
That's right. Yeah. What was your favorite part of the book? What was your, like, if you had to pick a favorite part, what was your favorite part of the book?
Wow. Let me think about that. I would have to say,
or least favorite part.
Least favorite.
Either one.
Might be a part that was written really well when Dillard is talking to Jesse and basically calling him a loser
in his driveway.
God,
that was hard. Yeah.
It just really made me feel for Jesse.
Yeah.
And the way that he just talks down to him, and Jesse's just completely realizing that he doesn't have what it takes at this point. That's a beautiful thing about this book, is the transformation of him.
Yeah.
And what he realizes that he's capable of doing.
Yeah. He ends up believing in himself. Yeah. He finds his muse, right? He accepts his
self-worth.
Muse. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a tough scene because I don't think I could have picked up the gun and shot Dillard either. I don't know. I'm not inherently a violent person anymore.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have picked it up either, even knowing all that stuff and picturing, my situation with him.
Dude, that was rough. That was rough.
And it's not like it was just that might be my least favorite, just because it was hard to listen to.
It was uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. Yeah.
Favorite part. I have maybe two favorite parts. Okay. So my first one would be when Krampus comes out of the sack into the general's into the general's office area, his like warehouse.
Yeah.
And basically just the description of Krampus is just one of a kind. Like, it really, you can totally picture it being like a mini series, we should throw in a little clip from the Audible right
throw
here.
In a little bit right there. Yep. Yeah.
So just the way that he pops out.
Be terrible.
Yeah. He says that several times. That's my favorite quote. I think I had that written down in my notes here.
Yeah.
It's just something about that. I kept reading it, listening and thinking, Gavin's got to be just loving
I was
this part.
Laughing. I was driving down 270, I think, at lunchtime, cackling, clapping.
That's what I was thinking.
Get him, dude. Get him. No, absolutely, dude. I was cheering. I was like legit cheering. Like, I was like, hell yeah, Krampus.
Yeah.
Driving down 270 in the middle of the day.
Such a feel good.
That was
fist bumping.
Oh shit, you're in it now.
Oh my god.
I was surprised. That was a good scene. I was surprised he made the general a Belsnickel. That I can see Chet. I could see that, right? Because Chet had the character, he had that spirit. I did not see him making the general a Belsnickel.
I liked that he because you're definitely thinking that he's just going to tear him to pieces, and that
some awful death,
so.
right? Like, you're hoping for, like, obviously Dillard is a really, really bad guy, right? Like, that's the big bad guy. That's the big BBEG, the big bad evil guy. That's Dillard. That's the guy that has to be overcome. But the general was another really, really, really bad guy. And I was wondering, like, how is the general going to die? How are we going to do that? And at first I was a little disappointed. Like, he got beheaded and his eyes plucked out. I mean, not that was like, whatever
soft or anything.
I was looking for a little bit more
pizzazz
meat in that. I was like, a little more something. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, that's right. Because you don't want to take away anything from Dillard's death, which
that was my second favorite. Yeah.
That was going to hell. Right.
Yeah. Just the description of him falling in, and where he's trying to kick off and he's kicking against air, trying to push back out of the sack. Yeah. So Krampus coming out of the sack is the best, and Dillard going into the sack is a close second best.
That was, what it occurred to me. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the general's death compared to Dillard's death. And I was thinking, well, it's right that the general didn't have some giant pizzazzy death or some horrible long drawn out torture, because that would have minimized Dillard's death. That would have taken away from that. And I can totally get that. I'm like, yeah, okay, no. And the general got beheaded, and I like to think he had his eyes plucked out first. But I that's what keeps me warm at night. But what occurred to me later, the way Dillard died was fantastic, right? Like, because Jesse didn't kill him. Jesse's not a killer, right? Like, we learned that. Jesse is, I mean, he's a strong spirit, and he's a man, and he stood up for himself, and he did what he needed to do, and he never, ever, ever quit. And at the end of it, not only did he not quit on his wife, he didn't quit on himself. That's Jesse's journey. But he's not a killer, right? But he did send Dillard to hell. And it occurred to me later, Dillard had a headache at the same time. Like, on top of that, Dillard went to hell with a migraine.
And little sleep.
Yeah.
He almost went naked.
Yeah, almost. He went to hell with a fucking migraine, which is just like, that's even worse. Like, how could going to hell be worse? A fucking migraine. And I thought that was really funny. I don't know if that was on purpose, but I thought that was really funny at the end. That was hilarious. Like just that one more little jab there at him. So
his scene when he's undressing and getting naked, I was just like, I don't know, just you can totally picture it all, and it all makes sense. Like for the character,
Absolutely.
Brom definitely writes the characters really well. Like
Yeah.
it makes you think he's from that area too, because like he gets the West Virginia, you know, kind of southern western.
He gets
West
that feel,
Virginia accent, like that hillbilly.
He gets that feel really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kirby Hayborn really had a lot of that in there too.
Mm-hmm.
And he said too, I'm not sure where Brom was born actually. I wonder if he was. Oh, he floated around. His dad was in the military. He floated around a lot. I wonder if he ended up through there
or something.
I wonder if he ended up through there at one point.
That could be,
But he said that one of the things it really was, that area was really ravaged by strip mining and meth. You felt like there was some respect for those places because they were hard to live there. It was hard to live there. It was hard to make a living there. It was hard. It was all coal miners, and to some degree still is. And but I don't feel like it was ever insulting to the area. I felt like it was like told out of concern for that area. I thought there was some respect told with that. It could have been really easy to just go, "Hey, look, hillbillies, yuck, yuck, yuck," but I don't feel like that's what it was. I feel like he had a lot of respect for the people and the culture that was there.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's so. Yeah, good book. I liked it. I loved it. It was good. It was very. Yeah. Like I fully recommend it if you like Neil Gaiman at all. Read this.
Check this out.
And if you liked this, read Neil Gaiman. It's very not similar, like a Biting of the Stees kind of similar, but just in that same sort of vein. And I love Neil Gaiman. I love the idea of mildly alternate realities. I think that's really cool. That's some of my favorite genre stuff. That sort of magic just underneath where we're living. I think
the underworld of it all.
Underworld kind of things. So
I do like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you really enjoyed it.
I did. I'm stoked on it. Yeah.
I hope anyone listening, bringing in the holiday, for sure it's appropriate time.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a book where I've been enjoying revisiting it every year, and
I could see it being a regular thing now.
Like you said, it's long enough. It is kind of a longer book, so you do kind of forget little bits and pieces and what happened here and there, and there's little parts that make you feel Christmassy, make you feel holiday-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, there's little bits I actually noticed on the second reading, and this is just something I want you to think about next time you read it or listen or whatever, is Isabel. We said her name was Isabel, right? Isabel, the little lion, right? Her last name was Mullins. And the Mullinses, nobody was hanging out with the Mullinses, right? She was 16 in 71, I think they said. And that's when she attempted to kill herself, and nobody liked the Mullinses. When they went to Horton's, Horton mentions that some of the guys in there, some of the bikers in there were the Mullins boys. And I wondered if there was a connection in that. I wonder if because she's from that area, maybe not that part of the county, but she's from that part of West Virginia. Man. So I'm just curious if that was a drop on purpose or if it was just a name that got recycled in. But I thought
that's gotta be purposeful, I would imagine.
I would think so, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe it was something that he was going to touch on and then sort of laid back off of or something. But he did mention, I caught that on my second listen. I was like, wait a minute. I actually backed it up. And I was like, did I hear that right? Is that really, did they say the Mullins? And they said it was the Mullins boys. And
that's funny.
Yeah. So I thought that was a neat little, just keep an ear out for that next time. And just, a year from now.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you catch on that and see what your thoughts are on that. But yeah, I thought
next year when I'm listening to it with my Home Alone watching obligatory yearly.
That's right. Yeah.
Love the Home Alone. What's your favorite holiday movie that you always your go-to?
Oh God. Oh, actually, okay, here you go. Maybe not my favorite holiday movie, but my favorite this holiday movie, my favorite Christmas movie, right? Like, I mean, we all like, there's Halloween movies. I think my favorite Halloween movie is Alien, because I think it's the best horror film ever made.
Hard to beat. Yeah.
It's perfect. It's Alien's a great fucking movie. Great horror movie. I think one of my favorite Christmas movies is actually my homework assignment for you.
Oh, okay.
It is a movie. It's funny. It occurred to me that we read movies and listen to books, because this movie has subtitles. It is a movie that was made in 2010. It's listed as an adventure fantasy horror, although I wouldn't necessarily say it was horror. Has elements of horror. It was made in Finland. It's called Rare Exports.
Rare Exports.
Rare Exports.
I have to write that down.
It was 2010, made in Finland. It's subtitled, so wear your glasses. Very vaguely, it's about Santa Claus.
Interesting.
It was on Netflix last year this time. So if it's not on Netflix, it's probably on one of the big three anyway: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. It's not hard to find if you can't find it. I found it hysterical and creepy and adventurous. I'm not going to say anything more. It's vaguely about Santa Claus. I'm going to leave it at that. That's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Wow. Okay.
So that was actually that it came up. That's your homework assignment. I'll be watching that with my kids tomorrow night before the night before the Christmas Eve. I think that's our thing for tomorrow night, is watching Rare Exports. I'm excited to see what you think about that. So very, very timely. Has nothing to do with Krampus. There's no Krampus in it. It's not like
that's okay.
It's not a secret. Here's more Krampus bang for your buck kind of thing.
Well, I love that. I've never heard of it, so I'm excited to check that out. I mean, all the usuals, everybody hears about. So that's cool. Very intrigued.
So, okay, what's yours? Well,
Home Alone, I actually is one of them. But then The Ref. I don't know if you've ever seen with Kevin Spacey and Dennis Leary.
Yeah, I did see that. Like the family's like falling apart or something, and they're just screaming at each other, and he ends up being like marriage counselor, right?
Basically.
Oh, and he smells like cat piss for the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that.
Dennis Leary's like he's a burglar, and he ends up taking Kevin Spacey and his wife hostage, and takes them back to their house, and he's their marriage counselor basically for the whole movie, but it's just a riot.
home invasion marriage counseling.
Yeah.
God, I haven't seen that in a long time. I'll have to check that out again.
That's a class. That and Christmas Vacation is always a go-to.
Christmas Vacation is big in my wife's family. They all run around on Christmas Day just going shitter's full nonstop. That's their whole. I can't even get in on that. Like I'd have to watch that movie so many times just to catch up to those people on that. I'll never be able to do it. So
man, that's a classic. That's my wife's favorite. Adriele's favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
She loves that. Yeah.
Die Hard. I think Die Hard's a really good Christmas movie. I will argue that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Die Hard and Gremlins.
Oh, Gremlins.
Also argue.
Gremlins is good. Yeah. Yep. And it's not a Christmas movie, but the first Harry Potter, I think
all of the Harry Potters actually they put me in a Christmassy mood.
I think the last couple don't so much for me, but the first few certainly do. But the first one, there's something about the first one that just makes me. I don't know if it's because maybe I saw it at Christmas time, but it really the whole movie. And they they have a little Christmas scene in it, but that whole movie just feels Christmassy to me. I'm not sure why that is.
Something about where they sleep, like their beds, how they go up that spiral staircase, and then they wake up and their presents are there, and Ron's mom sends a sweater. I don't know. I totally agree. It must have been we watched it over Christmas. Maybe it came out in December. I agree. It definitely makes you feel it.
But definitely the first, I mean, all of them have that sort of feel to it, but definitely the first one always makes me feel like Christmas. Like we usually, and I think we probably watch it. I think sometime this weekend, somebody will probably put on the first Harry Potter movie.
That's a hell of an idea.
Yeah. But I can only do the first 4 books anymore. Like every couple of years, I'll be like, oh, I haven't listened to Harry Potter in a while, but I hate Harry so much in the later books. He turns into such a brat. I can't listen to anything. I can listen to the first 3 comfortably, and then 4th, and then after that I'm like, I can't do it. I hate this.
They're so good.
I know. I love them. Umbridge makes me so.
She is the worst.
She makes me so insanely angry. Like I really will. I'll be in the car driving, right, and I will be just fuming, and people think it's traffic, and I'm just mad at Umbridge.
But that makes a good book right there,
no, I mean, if
you're ready to to just crash your car into the
Right.
next person, you know, like
I did during the which book is it when they go to the Quidditch World Cup? Or no, it wasn't the World Cup. It was the one
yes.
where Gryffindor won the cup, but it was the second or third book, I think. There was a big Quidditch match at Hogwarts. It wasn't a World Cup match. It was something
Gauntlet
else.
of Fire, maybe.
Might have been Goblet of Fire, but I was driving down
Goblet
the
of Fire,
street
yeah.
listening to that and cheering like the US men's team had just won the World Cup. I caught myself. I'm like 45 years old. Going, fuck yeah, Harry. It was pretty funny. It's like, man, okay, I got to tone this down a bit.
That's awesome.
It wasn't even the first time I'd listened to it either.
That's a sign of a good book, man. It just you get those goosebumps on your arms. It's,
no, it was.
I love that.
That was pretty funny.
Speaking of which, do you have a book for our next
I do
conquest
ish. I have a book ish. So my original thought was there's an author that I like that I think you'd like. His first big book, the won a couple of awards or nominations, Nebulous and stuff, is not on audiobook. It just doesn't exist on audiobook. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do. I know. I don't know what the hell's up with that. I'm going to see what I can do about that. So then I was thinking,
record our own.
Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, Alice knows a guy that records audiobooks. I'm going to ask him to do it. Like, I'm legit going to ask him. I don't know if he will, but I'll be like, look, I need you to do this book for me so I can make my cousin read it. So then, but I was thinking Neil Gaiman. Right. Like I love Neil Gaiman, and this book was very Neil Gaiman-y, not in a bad way, not in a biting the steez way, but just that sort of alternate reality. Neil Gaiman did a great book about the Norse gods and a lot of other gods called American gods. But that's too samey, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to do one called Neverwhere.
Neverwhere. Okay.
Neverwhere is the name of it. But here's the interesting thing. I'm not going to do the book. I'm not going to make you read the book. He did a full cast dramatization of it. So it's actually like a radio drama or an audio play, if you will. It's a little bit different than something that we've done so far. It's cool. It's got a lot of cool people in it. It's and if you do like it, the novel is really good. And then there's also a mini series. They shot a mini series for the BBC years ago. But this is Christopher Lee is in it. If you like Christopher Lee.
Oh wow, yeah.
Who fucking doesn't like Christopher Lee, right? Natalie Dormer's in it.
Wow, that's cool.
Benedict Cumberbatch is in it.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in it, and it's really good. It's a really cool story, and that's
awesome.
Similar-ish in that this is sort of a mildly alternate reality, but not Christmassy and not Krampusy, but it should be good. And I'm interested. I know you're not huge into Neil Gaiman yet, or not that you haven't experienced much Neil Gaiman yet. I think this is. Well, as a matter of fact, I think this is the first book. Oh, it's not. It's not the first book I read. It's the second book I read by him. But I think you'll really enjoy this. And the full cast audio is neat. If you've never done like a real radio drama, it's really it's a cool experience. So those listening, find it. It's on audiobook. It's on Audible.
Making my mouth smile right now.
Yeah. No, so I think you'll enjoy it. I do think you'll enjoy it. It's a really fun story. After you do that, the mini series is really good too. The mini series is a lot of fun.
And then it's also
it's also a novel.
Yeah,
well. It's also a traditional book.
So if people are listening in, do they have to listen to the radio drama to follow our next episode, or
no? Because the story is basically the story. You could do any of them. You could read the novel. You could read the book, or you could read the novel. You could watch the TV show, or you could listen to the full cast dramatization. Specifically, you and I will be doing the full cast dramatization, but the story is very close enough, except for some little detail stuff, that you can follow along in any of the three media.
Okay.
But for this, I suggest a full radio dramatization just because they're fun. It's fun to listen to kind of an old timey radio story. You know, it's like, it's an interesting way to listen to something, but I think anybody can do any of the three and follow along pretty closely, except for some minor detail stuff.
Love that. Hey, let me take a real quick pee break real quick.
Yep.
Pause. All right.
There we go.
Everybody, that just felt like $1 million. Let me tell you, I've been drinking lots of ale in spirit of the Yuletide and for Krampus tonight. I thought I could make it to the end of the episode, and I was like, oh man,
almost.
I gotta piss my pants here.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Not on camera.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. No.
Or if you're going to do it on camera, at least get paid better.
At least stand up like Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, Billy pissed his pants. Well,
cool. I think that's all I've got. I don't have anything else.
Yeah. I think that Neverwhere sounds really interesting. I'm very much looking forward to listening to it. And I think I'll probably either read or watch or listen to the book as well, just so I get like that double perspective.
Yeah. Oh no, I fully suggest you and do all three and watch the miniseries if you can find it too, for sure. Because the miniseries is shot really interesting in London and stuff. But the audio drama is a lot of fun because it's also something mildly different. It's something that we haven't done yet on this show at any rate.
I like that. Yeah.
I think, and if you like the Star Wars books where there's like sound effects and stuff like that, you'll really dig on this because it's actually different voice actors and stuff doing it. It's really well produced. It's cool. It's a lot of fun. It's an interesting way to hear a story. So, and it's a good story to do that with. It's kind of light. I'm not sure the time. I have to look up the time. It's not a huge amount of time.
Not super long.
It's not super long. I find more detail. Well, we'll know next episode.
Cool. I very much look forward to it. And I guess I should say I'm very glad you loved Krampus.
I did.
And as I was listening to it, I just was hoping, I really wish Gavin likes this, loves it. And everybody that's following along with us enjoyed reading it and, listening to the episode. We definitely want to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Mostly a happy Yuletide.
Mostly happy Yuletide.
Yes, I know we all celebrate Christmas nowadays, but really where it's at, we all know is the Yule.
It's the Yule. It's the Yule. The Yule's. That's the important one.
So I'm drinking an ale here and, in favor of Krampus. And that's the only way to do it, guys. So I'd say we really appreciate you guys listening. If you have any, comments or questions, feel free. We'd love to see some emails or reviews coming in, and any Instagram participation. That
would be cool. Share us awesome. If you know other geeks that might dig us. Share us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely pimp us out.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. Well, I guess this has been the Hologram Media Club podcast. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks from now with Neverwhere.
With Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. That's it. We'll talk to you then.
All right. See ya.
Okay, that's that.